We're going to come out of that report. These are live pictures coming to us from Protea Glen, south of Johannesburg. As you can see, police firing rubber bullets at protesters. We will stay with these pictures. This has erupted in the past 5 minutes or so. As you can hear, the crack of rubber bullets being fired and smoke now engulfing the entire area. These are protests over housing. They've taken place at the weekend in Protea Glen, south of Johannesburg, and have continued unabated this Monday morning as residents and authorities continue to face off with people trying to occupy land. According to some reports, those occupying the land had claimed to have permission to erect the structures, but existing Protea Glen residents would not allow it. So this tumult has erupted in the past 5 minutes or so as we see police involved in a standoff with protesters at Protea Glen. This is a live picture now of someone who has patently been hit by a rubber bullet, and you can see police now starting to advance on the gathering crowds. My colleague Malungelo Booi, I think, is with us at this point. Malu, are you there? All right, we'll try to latch with Malungelo Booi in just a moment, but in the meantime, we will stay with these live pictures coming through from Protea Glen as police now have fired rubber bullets. There you see one person patently hit by a rubber bullet is being assisted off the scene. Previously, when we were live on the scene, there must have been 75 to 100 protesters that were gathered in front of burning tyres. They seem to have vacated the scene now. Police had been on standby, keeping a distance for some time this morning, and then patently something, we will try to establish just what it was, had erupted, which caused this fracas, this altercation between South African Police Service members and residents in the area. Malungelo Booi, good afternoon to you. Are you with us? So what appears to have been a very brief but intense flare-up between the South African Police Service and members of or local community members seems to have died down as quickly as it started. Protea Glen residents south of Johannesburg, near in the vicinity of Lenasia and Soweto, involved in a very brief standoff with police. One police vehicle remains on the scene, and this followed protests that continued unabated throughout the course of the weekend and then spilling into Monday. One more time, and please bear with us as we try to establish contact with our reporter on the ground, Malungelo Booi. Malu, good afternoon to you. I'll try once again. Are you with us?
That's right, Jeremy. I'm here, and as I was saying, Jeremy, this street, this road, which is R559, has the whole morning been packed with protesting homeowners here in Protea Glen who are saying to us that they want authorities to address the problem of land grabs. As you just a few moments ago, we saw our police and JMPD officials firing rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse the homeowners that were protesting here. As you can see, there's an inyala going into the community, making sure that there's no one that is on the road. They'd asked, Jeremy, that residents move away from the road, and of course, some residents actually didn't want to move. They had a discussion, in fact, residents had, or the protesters, I should say, had a discussion on whether to move or not to move from this road, and the majority of them said they mustn't move and they won't move, because if they move, it will defeat the purpose of their protest action. And of course, we saw the police officers firing those rubber bullets and tear gas, trying to disperse them. Most of them, Jeremy, have now gone back into the community inside their houses running away from the police officers.
Malu, we witnessed two people who seem to have been hit by rubber bullets, one of them being assisted off the scene, obviously, by a colleague or a friend. Again, I understand this is a very fluid situation. Things are moving very quickly, but are you able to determine at this point whether there have been any injuries?
That is, Jeremy, the only I actually saw those two people you're talking about. They have been helped by their colleagues. In fact, one of the ladies was wearing black. You could tell she could not get up at all. She had to be assisted by a fellow resident, and I don't know the extent, Jeremy, on whether she's injured or not, but I would say perhaps because there was also tear gas that was all over the place, I think that could have also contributed to her actually even battling. One of the residents actually has just shouted, asking me to ask the police why are they shooting them, because they'd done nothing wrong. The street, Jeremy, is strewn with shoes from some of the people that were here, from some of the, yes, and I can also see blood, Jeremy, exactly where that lady was sitting, exactly where that lady was kneeling. I'm actually on that spot. I can see blood, and I think I see her shoes as well on this road. And most of the residents now, Jeremy, I'm actually looking at them. They're standing here, far away from the site of the police officers. I don't know what actually they're planning to do next, but one of them just said to me a few moments ago, I must ask the police why are they shooting them, because they've not done anything wrong.
Malu, just a couple of questions arising from that. First of all, the volley or the time of the volley of rubber bullets being fired at people, how long did that last for? And was it just rubber bullets that were fired, or was any other type of ammunition used, to the best of your knowledge?
Jeremy, the only thing that I'm seeing here are rubber bullets, but I also felt tear gas in my eyes as I was also running away, moving backwards. I think this moment lasted for about a minute or two, Jeremy, but at the sound of it, it sounded as if it was a bit longer, though. And of course, there and there we saw some people falling on the road here, and some running away from the hail, really, of those rubber bullets. And it was not only one police officer or law enforcement officer that was firing rubber bullets here, Jeremy. It was several of them.
We also know that this has been a long-standing conflict between residents. I'm just going to pause and listen in as we hear the sound. Sense of who this person is and what they're doing?
Actually, one of the community leaders. I'm trying to make sense, Jeremy, of what he's actually trying to say. I think he's trying to organize the residents to regroup again. Now, but the question is whether will they regroup here, Jeremy, or will they regroup elsewhere?
And Malu, the other point that you raised was that prior to the rubber bullets being fired, there had been some consultation between police and the residents themselves. They refused then to stand down. Do we know whether any ultimatum was given to the residents, or did police simply finish the meeting and then open fire?
Jeremy, the community leaders have been interacting with the police. And in fact, when the community leaders had concluded interacting with the police, they came and interacted with the rest of the protesters, telling them that the police are saying that they need to clear the road, they need to open at least one lane so that cars can be able to move. And the majority of those residents, Jeremy, voted against that, saying that they will not move, that must not happen. no road must be open to anyone. And I suppose, but Jeremy, I must also point this: I didn't hear police shouting, saying "get away." I didn't hear it. But all I saw when one of the leaders saying that they are going to shoot us if we don't move. Most of the residents started to sit on the road, singing one of the songs, saying "I have a pass, let's sit down and be quiet." So that's really all I can recall for now. I don't remember them using a loudspeaker, counting them down to move. Not at all. I don't recall that happening at all in this.
Malungelo, approximately how many community protesters were there at the time of the rubber bullets being fired? And on the other side of the skirmish, how many police were involved to your very best estimation?
Jeremy, I would say there was over 100 community members or protesters that were here. And of course, the number of police and metro police officers, I would say, it's around 15 to 20. That's just a rough estimation, Jeremy. I'm looking at those that are actually carrying rubber bullets, firearms and all that. Those are the people that I'm looking at them right now, Jeremy. But in terms of the residents that were here protesting, that had rubber bullets being fired at them, and those, I would say, were just about 100.
All right, Malungelo, we'll stay with these pictures for the moment. So again, for people just joining us on this early Monday afternoon, police firing rubber bullets not more than 7-10 minutes ago as they clashed with residents of Protea Glen, south of Johannesburg, within the Soweto Lenasia vicinity. What we've seen now is residents have fled the scene. There have been some calls for them to regroup. On the other side of the road, police who earlier fired rubber bullets are now on some sort of standby, obviously keeping a close eye on the situation. And Malu, we've also seen this police in Yala driving in and out of the community every once in a while. Again, do we have any sense as to why the vehicle is doing that, what the purpose of that particular mission is?
Well, Jeremy, I think what the police are trying to do is trying to prevent the community or the protesters from regrouping and blocking the road. That's the reason why, in fact, they try to that's why they dispersed them from here, is because they wanted them to stop converging here or protesting here. In fact, I can see the Nyala you're talking about. I'm actually looking at it right now, and I'm also looking at a lady with a school child trying to cross the road, looking at, obviously, at the position of the police officers and the metro police officers. And of course, residents are on my right, are on my right. And in fact, I think they're going to start to, I can see some are already trying to bring back the tires back onto the road, Jeremy, and police now are starting to fire again at those that are trying to bring back the burning tires back to the road.
All right, Malu, please be very careful in your reporting situation, please, as I think we've seen one rubber bullet being fired. The most important thing is for you to look after yourself and not to get into any danger, as you tell us now that there is an attempt by protesters in Protea Glen to regroup and possibly reignite the tires that we've seen not only burning today, but throughout the course of what has been a very tumultuous and tense weekend in the area. If you're just joining us, Protea Glen residents clashing with police about 10-15 minutes or so ago, police firing rubber bullets. At this stage, we have no confirmed reports of injuries, although we saw ourselves, as we took live pictures in from the area, that at least 2 people were hit, were on the ground. They were assisted off the scene by other members of the community. And Malu, what you'll tell us now, and I'm not exactly sure where your position is, but again, another tyre has been reignited, which is also telling us that the community members involved in this protest have no real intention of going quietly.
That's right, Jeremy. Another tyre is now burning, and police they just threw tear gas again. I mean, most of the people, when they started to see police coming towards where the tyre is burning, they started to run away into their houses. So we don't know how long they're going to be in their houses, whether that's where, in fact, they're going to be inside the community and then start to strategize and come up with their next move. And I suppose, Jeremy, one of the things these residents have been saying to us all along is that today they've been forced to act in this manner because they want authorities to, in fact, the City of Johannesburg and the Gauteng Human Settlements Department to address the problem of land invasion. They're saying that if land invasion is allowed, if the land that's near their communities is used for informal settlements by those who are grabbing it, they're saying that the value of their homes will go down. And also they're raising concerns that it will have implications for their communities. They're talking crime here, Jeremy. And in fact, one of the community of the homeowners said to me that the land grabbers said to her that they will actually open a shebeen in that area as well when they finally move in, and the land grabbers will tell you that that's not the case. Jeremy, I see the police and Metro Police are removing the debris and some of the burning cars from the road, and I just saw two cars passing. This road has been closed off to vehicles the entire day.
Malu, when we talk about the piece of land that is in question here, position that piece of land for us, as we're now starting to see traffic being granted some safe passage through the area that was the subject of the skirmish a little earlier. Give us a sense of how big this parcel of land is and approximately how many people then are involved in these attempts to grab it.
Jeremy, this land is actually, some people are saying that it's over about 100 hectares, and it's quite vast, Jeremy. It's not just one piece of land that the land grabbers have in fact identified, or those that want to invade it have identified. It's quite huge. In fact, one of the, and it's opposite the homes in Protea Glen. It's not very far. For those people who use this road, it's actually, the land in question is not very far from the R557 when you're heading to Randfontein or you're heading to Lenasia. Now, that land, Jeremy, we have been told by some authorities here that land has been earmarked for a housing development. But at the same time, though, over the weekend, when I was here, there were 3 people that came to us and said actually that land belongs to them because they were moved away from that land. And in fact, it was a farm, Jeremy. They're saying that was a farm. They were moved away and they were not properly compensated for it. In fact, they went as far as to say the people that were invading land, they kept on encouraging them to invade land. And one of the men said, I'll actually allow you to also go to my farm, to where we and get plots of land there, because we have never been compensated for that land. And in fact, they went as far as to say the City of Johannesburg, they've written to the City of Johannesburg, they've written to Mayor Herman Mashaba about that particular issue, that they've not been properly compensated for that land, and they have not had any feedback on that.
All right, so at this point we await word from the SAPS, official word, as to what sparked that confrontation. information. We'll also wait to hear from community leaders who grouped and then decided to sit down and not remove themselves from the scene, which then resulted in rubber bullets and tear gas being deployed. And obviously we also await word from city authorities, because this is a situation now that has started late last week. In fact, it has been building up to this for quite some time, but certainly resulting in heightened tension over the past 72 hours or so. Malungelo Booi, our reporter at Protea Glen, please stand by. We are going to be back with you in just a moment, but if you're just joining us here on the channel on eNCA, these are live pictures of a clash, a skirmish between SAPS members, Johannesburg Metro Police, and protesting residents in Protea Glen, south of Johannesburg. And we'll be back to reporter Malungelo Booi in just a moment as he regroups himself and tries to obtain further information.